If you've been going around the good old internet looking for the right podcast to fulfill your New York Yankees needs, well, I'll be the first to deliver the good news to you. You have found it. Here on Yapping Yankees with me, your host, Mike Scudero, you and I will be discussing the latest news, takes, and talk throughout the entire Yankee universe. Oh, and there may be some ranting on my behalf. Yeah. Anyway, what do you say we get to it? Let's get to yapping! Well, hello there, my fellow Yankee fans, and welcome to episode 261 of the Yapping Yankees podcast. As always, I am your host, Mike Scudero, your friendly neighborhood Yankee yapper with the best yap in all the land, here on August the 31st, the final day of the month in the year 2025, with yet another extra large order of the Yappuccino for you. Thank you for the applause, although I don't feel I deserve it. Wow. It has been a while, my friends, and I am coming to you live once again from the echo chamber for yet another episode. Can't believe it's the 261st. Wow. But it has been a while. The last time we yapped, it was August 3rd, I think. Let me see. It was August 3rd, Sunday. That was the last episode that we talked. Because if you recall, on the 10th, I had a wedding to go to, so I couldn't do an episode that Sunday. And then for the 17th, that was a couple of days before my second attempt at the Series 7, so I took all my time to study for it, and that I did. For that, and about 3 weeks prior to that, I hit it hard. And for those eagerly awaiting my results, if you hadn't already seen my posts on social media, not necessary, but thanks, I guess. I unfortunately failed again. Yeah, I failed again. And that's not even the best part. I failed by 3%. 3%. I failed, guys, from passing.
Oh my God!
The new sound effects keep on coming. That was from one of my favorite animes where the voice actor actually, for comedic purposes, does the oh my God in English. But that was basically my reaction when the result popped up on the screen because, yeah, my score did improve from the first time pretty significantly by a few points, and passing 72, I got a 69. I know a lot of people are going to have a field day with that one, as I would too, so I don't blame you. But when you come that close and oh, God, I want to freaking kill someone. All the hard work that you put in, and you go into something feeling as good as you think you're ever going to feel, and you put in the work, and 3%. Oh, God, did it burn. Oh, my gosh. I know that has a lot of people being confident in me, saying I'm so close, so just do it once more and you'll get it next time. And I better, because if I don't get it done on the next attempt, I can do it in about, if I wanted to, as soon as I could do it again in about 2.5, 3 weeks from now. I'm going to take a little bit longer than that just to be extra sure I pass with every fiber of my being. But if I don't, I gotta wait 6 months until another attempt.
Holy crap!
Yeah. You're not kidding. So I gotta get it done next time, to say the least. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna be having to wait until like the spring of 26 to take it again. So, yeah, I gotta. The problem is, though, is that after the first fail, I knew the couple of areas that I had to get stronger in, my areas of weakness, I knew. But this time, I really addressed those, and I guess that reflected in my score because I did improve, decently so. And now that I feel I improved those, and towards the end of the test, unlike the first time where I felt like a blind man in a minefield, this time, I actually felt at the end of the exam, I had some trepidation and anxiety in the beginning. I didn't feel too confident, but towards the end, I really found myself telling myself, I really think I might have passed this thing. And to get that close and it still not be a pass after you feel that way at the very end, it's just the gut punch of a lifetime. That's all I can really describe it as, to the point where you're coughing up blood for a couple of hours. I mean, was a tough pill to swallow, guys. It really, really was. And a lot of you were rooting so hard for me on social media, in my personal life. I can't tell you what that meant to me. And I took all of those good wishes and well wishes and prayers and thoughts and all the positivity that I could into the test with me. And those of you who know me personally know that positivity does not come easily for me, especially when it comes to myself. I'm harder on myself than I could ever imagine being on any other single human being out there or thing, anything, any soul out there. So I took it all with me into the exam, and I thought I did it, but I didn't. So it really sucks. Yeah, it absolutely sucks. But what other choice do I have? This is what I want to do for a living. And this test is stopping me from getting my career off the ground, but I'm not going to let it do that for longer because I know this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I want to do. And I'm dead set on passing this stupid freaking test. It's one of the hardest ones in the entire country, statistically, especially for first-timers, for people taking it for the first time. But I got to do it. A lot of other people have done it. A lot of other people haven't. But I got to be one of the ones who does if I want to do this for a living and get licensed and do what I got to do. So I got no choice. Got to pick myself up and take it again. So I don't know exactly when that'll be. I'll keep everybody posted, especially if it does come in the way of Yapping Yankees. There is a strong possibility it's going to happen again in October, which if the Yankees do make the playoffs, which things are looking up a lot more right now in this moment than they were a few weeks ago when we last spoke. We'll go over all that in a minute. But if it does interfere with the schedule at all, obviously I will let you know, because unfortunately that does take precedence. As much as I hate that exam, it does take precedence considering the importance and the value it holds in my life. As much as I love doing the show, but it has to take priority. So it would suck to have it interfere with any potential playoff schedule or playoff episodes here. I've never not done a playoff episode of Yapping Yankees, but listen, this year's different, like I've explained, so I just got to see what happens. I'll see when I'm ready to take it again and keep you posted. But that's the latest. I know a lot of you probably don't follow me on social media or, hadn't spoken to me in my personal life since you might have heard I was taking it again and this was your one avenue of knowing how I did. Well, now you know. So I friggin' failed the damn thing again. Yeah, it's a good description of how I feel. So, well, that and then some, especially right after the fact when it was still fresh. But it was a couple of weeks ago at this point. So I've had some time to digest. I've studied minimally, just a little bit since then, but I'm going to go in hard once again very shortly. Just still kind of devastated, honestly, that I got that result, despite the work I put in and how ready I felt I was. But it's life, guys. Failures happen. I keep on having to be reminded of that because I do not handle failure well. I never have and probably never will. Something that I continue to grapple with for this test and through life. Most of my life I've had trouble with coping with failing at things, but we all do it. My favorite athlete and role model, Derek Jeter, is the one who always says that. So I got to take the wisdom and advice of those I look up to the most, and they all basically continue to reiterate that to me. So I will take it and do the best I can next time. What am I going to do, right? So we'll see what I'm made of after the next time. Speaking of seeing what you're made of, well, I guess that's really what's coming up for the Yankees now, isn't it? How about that segue? I think it's time I dub myself the king of segues when it comes to broadcasting.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Honestly, that's completely fair. That's completely fair. Anyway, speaking of what you're made of, quite the trial up ahead for the Yankees. There is a lot to catch up on because we haven't spoken in a few weeks, and I'm not doing a social media segment either. I just kind of want this to be a me talking to you sort of thing, just hanging out, you chilling back and relaxing, not having to answer anything for yourself. And I just yap to you. That's what you come here for every week, isn't it? Every episode, some way, somehow, you come here to listen to my crazy-ass yap until you probably want to cry because you can't shut me up, but yet here you are still listening, right? So it's got to be interesting to some degree. But that's just kind of the way I wanted this episode to go this week. Just sort of a sit back, relax, just talk about generally what's happened the last few weeks. Obviously not talk about every little nook and cranny, otherwise I'll be here for 5 hours, and neither of us want that. So just vaguely go over things that have happened in weeks past, going all the way back to August 3rd, just very vaguely. And then much more in depth on probably the more current stuff in the last week or so. But it's certainly been a roller coaster ride. And this leads me to why I say the Yankees are we're gonna have to see what they're made of. And the next week or two is gonna really define who and what this team really is. Despite the crap show that we were witness to a week ago and back since the last time we spoke, honestly, guys. Because the last time we spoke on the 3rd, all the way up until last Sunday when I actually went to the Yankees and Red Sox game last week. And yes, I will credit myself for the win streak that just came to an end today. Because some may call me the slump buster. I've said this in the past in prior seasons. My record at Yankee games is a pretty damn good one. And I pride myself on that. And the one and only game that I went to and will have gone to this year, last Sunday, they won. So I will take a 1-0 record through to the end of 2025. That's how we're going to do it. But I did go to the game last Sunday, and in case you're wondering, that is also why I did not even talk to you last week, because I originally anticipated to have my first episode back from a couple of weeks hiatus from the wedding and then the Series 7. I expected to return last Sunday. I gone back to my original house last weekend while my girlfriend was up in Boston at a Jonas Brothers concert. So I went back to my original house to spend some time with my brother, even slept there for one night, and then was ready to go for the next day to go to a nice Sunday afternoon game, Yankees and Sox, with the father, with the brother, and have ourselves a good old time. But then a couple of weeks beforehand, they decided to change the game into an ESPN Sunday Night Baseball primetime game. So that just put a big old monkey wrench into our friggin' plans there for Sunday, and I was conflicted for a while because I live far away from Yankee Stadium. Now that I've moved out to the more eastern part of Long Island, I was like, I don't know if I can afford to stay there for the usual length of a Yankees-Red Sox game. We all know the usual length of those games. They are very long. So, ultimately, I decided that I would just go. We stayed for pretty much the entire game, maybe for the exception of the very, very end. And they were winning big anyway, so it was fine. But I had to get back out here because I had work the next day, this past Sunday. Or Monday, rather. So I did go to the game, and because of the fact that I was at my original house and I went to the game and I was away from my computer and my microphone, I couldn't do a Yapping Yankees episode. And I did say there was a possibility of that happening, depending how timing worked out. So not that I didn't completely cover my bases there, but I was a little frustrated by that, especially by the fact that they changed the game time. Not the first time they've done that, and I think they realized that the Yankees and Red Sox were probably way closer than they ever anticipated at this time of the year. So given how close they were, they wanted it in prime time. Great for them, crappy for the fans who might have had an entire day planned around it, but who cares about the fans, Major League Baseball, right? Who gives a single and solitary crap about the fans? So they just went ahead and did that. Still had a good time at the game, managed to go, thank God. No thanks to Major League Baseball and or the Yankees, whoever the hell decides that. But that's why I couldn't do an episode last week, and that's why I'm coming back this week for the first time since the 3rd. But yeah, it's been an eventful few weeks, as it was for the Yankees. That's my point. After we spoke on August the 3rd, we saw what were weeks worth of the definition of disgraceful Yankees baseball. I mean, just embarrassing. They lost that last game to Miami. They got swept there, if you remember. That's where we left off. Then they went on to Texas, lost 2 out of 3 there. Was not too much of a surprise, and it intensified the wild card picture that much because the Rangers were right there, and I warned that they were not a pushover, especially because of their pitching. And then they went on to beat the Yankees 2 out of 3. The Yankees very well could have at least taken 2 out of 3, but they were playing their crappiest brand of baseball. The bullpen was still beyond collapsing. Pitching overall making all of us Yankee fans wanting to borderline harm ourselves. The offense, although occasionally pulling disappearing acts here and there, like every offense. Hitting's tough, and no matter how good the team is, they're going to disappear some days. And that's what the offense did, but for the most part, they really tried to at least stay resilient in each of these games and give them a damn good chance to win as best as they could. And it's been far from the main problem overall. It's one of the top offenses in baseball. They just spit in their face all days other than the last one there, where they managed to pull out a 3-2 win against the Rangers. Then they came back home and mostly got manhandled by the Astros and continued to lose games in the most embarrassing of fashion, still having errors in almost every game. Just embarrassing. And the pitching just folding. Horrible. Horrible baseball played. Another 2 out of 3 lost at home to them. And the last couple of years, the Yankees have actually performed pretty well against them in the regular season. Not this time. 2 out of 3 against them. And then they finally got the Twins. They got a break. You're like, oh my God, listen, no matter how badly things are going, you can always count on the Yankees to spank the Twins. And they did for this first 2 games. They won 6-2, and then they won 9-1, Monday and Tuesday, respectively. And then Wednesday, the offense pulls a disappearing act. Yuri De Los Santos goes out there after Schlittler finished and just takes a huge crap on the game, doesn't record an out, and allows 3 runs to score. One of those was after Mark Leiter Jr. came in after him, and the run was charged to De Los Santos. But we all know that Mark Leiter Jr. has been no treat for a while now since he returned from injury. Just no fun. And he wasn't there again. And the Yankees actually managed to lose a game against them. I know you can never go perfect against a team no matter how much you usually spank the hell out of them, but the fact that they lost a game against the Twins, that was not a good omen. Then they end up going to St. Louis and then had themselves their first really good series, just clean sweep. And it felt really good. They managed to pull out the win on Friday. They scored early, and then pitching was able to hold them down. Heel did himself a nice job. Saturday, they were able to win big. The offense exploded. They won 12-8. So that was really good. Ben Rice had himself a hell of a game that day. I even remember that still off the top of my head. Then on Sunday, the last game, they managed to win 8-4. So they actually had a good road trip, including the couple of games they played after that. But then again, the Cardinals are a team that's, they're a sub-500 team, and they're skirting around a 500 record. At the time, at least. They were a couple of games under 500. So you're saying, okay, this is a team they should beat. The word should be carefully used because there are a lot of things the Yankees should do and they don't. So there's that too. I understand that. But they finally did a nice job after they were playing some horrible baseball for weeks, like we got done talking about in the last episode all those weeks ago, and how dangerous the wild card picture was getting and how they were really playing with fire. Last episode's title. It was as accurate as anything. And those couple of games after that I was referencing, were the Rays games that they went to play at GMS after that. They won big, especially the first day, 13-3. They won on Tuesday the 19th. And then they ended up winning on Wednesday the 20th as well in extra innings. But that was no thanks to David Bednar, who had actually fixed himself quite well up until here. Obviously, in Miami, you had that surreal outing where every single deadline acquisition on the last day there, Bednar, Jake Bird, Camilo Duvall, Caballero, everybody who the Yankees acquired contributed to brutally losing that game in Miami. So, everybody knows and remembers that. But then after that, Bednar really cleaned himself up nicely and really improved. But then on this day, he had no luck. So he gave up the game-tying 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th for a blown save. Fortunately, the offense came through strongly in the top of the 10th. So that was nice. Because, again, they're resilient. They did the best they could. Giancarlo Stanton, who I'll talk about again in a second, has done such a fantastic job still since being back. I just cannot believe how good he's doing. Even Wells friggin' homered after that. So after that, I basically felt that no matter what would happen in the bottom of the 10th and the heart attack that Devin Williams would give us once again, that the Yankees would hold on for the win, and they did. So they did have good grit and fight in them for that. I'll give them that. So that was their 5th in a row. Good little 5-game road trip, 3 in St. Louis, 2 in GMS against the Rays. But then right after that, especially against a team that massively mattered because of how close they were in the wild card race and the race thereby for second place, the Red Sox came to town. And for the most part, except for when I was there, but one could argue that even for the game that I was there on Sunday last week, the damage was already massively done with some really humiliating, embarrassing moments. It started right away on Thursday. They lost that game 6-3. The Yankees just played ugly baseball. 4 errors on Thursday. 4 errors. Most of these errors, a lot of them, are Volpe. Some others are Jazz. Take your pick. Behind the plate, anywhere else in the... it's just crazy. 4 errors. This season, it's got to be amongst the most errors the Yankees have had. at least since I can remember, since I've been watching. They've never played sloppier baseball collectively in a season. And again, it's unbelievable that it comes after the way the World Series ended. It's unreal. So it got started right away with all that embarrassing crap. Lost 6-3 on the first day with all those errors. The Red Sox got 10 hits. No matter how much the offense tried to stay in it, Red Sox jumped out in front, they tied it at 1. Red Sox jumped out in front 2-1, they tied it at 2. But then the embarrassments were happening, the errors were happening. Pitching started to give it up. Weaver wasn't delivering. I mean, take your pick. Duvall screwed up again, and he has sucked since being here. I cannot tell you how morbidly disappointing that is, especially given how excited I was to have him. De Los Santos at the end, 2 more runs, neither earned, but it's just awful. Awful, awful baseball, just ugly. Then on Friday, the offense pulls a freaking vanishing act. 3 hits the whole night, no runs. 1 run scored by the Red Sox all night, an RBI double by Connor Wong, and that's it. That's the whole friggin' night. And who did the Red Sox score the run off of? Mark Leiter Jr., big friggin' surprise.
Screw you.
Yeah, screw you, Mark, honestly. Screw you. Then Saturday comes around, and you thought that all the errors and the pitching being bad and the disappearing act by the offense on Friday was enough? Oh, no. No. They would go on to lose last Saturday 12-1. And, of course, this was the last loss before today's loss, so things would improve after this. Although they got confident and happy against a couple of whipping teams, but that's besides the point. Last Saturday, 12-1. That was a real doozy. Will Warren did not have anything. He has slipped right back to his bad habits the last couple of outings. He was really good for a bunch before that, but the last couple, he slipped back. The kind of Will Warren outing that we had come to expect for a lot of the year. 4 innings, 5 runs, 3 walks. Listen, and 7 hits in those 4 innings as well. Listen, we have seen the potential of Will. We've seen the potential. Fantastic stuff. But you just still have those starts where you just see there's still more work to do. That's really it. I know this is sort of a vague weekly recap as it is, but I just figured I'd go through these games and then go through individual performances. We could talk about this coming week, or this past week rather, in just a bit. But just to give a brief, vague recap of the last bunch of weeks other than just this past one. But this game was just, it was a humiliation. I mean, even the Red Sox broadcasters, they were saying the Red Sox have turned this into a laugher in the Bronx. I mean, against your arch nemesis of the last, how many freaking decades, the last century at large. The way you've already performed against them, I think this made them like 1-8 or 1-9 against them with this loss. Off rip, I can't really remember the specifics, but just other than winning that first game against them at the beginning of the year when they had first played them, 9-6, they won against the Red Sox. And the Red Sox even made a run for it in that game. Yankees were winning that game huge, and score finished kind of close, 9-6, if you remember that game. They lost every single one after that. You combine that with the performances against the Blue Jays, how the Astros just handed them their ass, all the big teams that mean something and are worthwhile if you're ever to meet them in October, just screwing the pooch, man. And then this happens 12-1 and nobody seems upset. This is what John Boy was talking about, that interview that they had with Aaron Boone, who I've really just been... We all know how I feel about Boone. I've made no secret for a long time now. I have no problem personally with the guy. How could I? I don't know him personally. But as a manager, he is the worst I've seen. And I think even whenever the Yankees win, they do it in spite of him. Sometimes when they lose, objectively so, it's not his fault. But I mean, my God, the mindset at which he approaches things and even the decisions he makes when he actually is approaching things. I've just never seen anyone be so putrid at it. And as frequently as he is, and given as many passes for it as he's been given. From the fans, from the front office, from everybody. And I come to expect it from the front office. I realize he's their mouthpiece and their front man. I'm understanding of all this. I don't need that explained to me like I'm 5. I get it. I've said this many, many times. Even on Twitter, where when I was talking about the other day how it was pretty funny how after Cody was a little lackadaisical in left field on a ball hit out to him, how Boone didn't seem to take issue with having a conversation with him when it didn't look too friendly, and understandably so. Cody was lackadaisical. He deserved to talk. That was never my argument. But, we hear how Boone usually his fashion is done behind closed doors and doesn't like to put things out in the public, in front of the camera, blah, 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 to the media, post-game, all that crap, all that nonsense. And then he gives Cody that conversation right in front of the cameras in the dugout where Cody visibly looked pretty bummed out over the conversation, understandably so. Probably got a little scolded for being lackadaisical, as he and everybody else who is deserves to have. But it's just funny to me how someone like Cody could have that happen, especially given the season he's having. But then someone like Volpe or even somebody else who just plays crappy baseball, not even just Volpe, but especially him because the focus is especially on him, despite him being good again for the last 3 days and probably going to go 7 for the next 70 once again, because that's just what he does. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut. I've always said that about him. That's how he hits. His little spurts come in bunches, and then for a very brief time, and then it's just back to being Volpe, what he is. But it's just funny to me how that could happen with someone like Cody in front of the cameras, but not like somebody else like Volpe or others who deserve that kind of a talking to, and then it doesn't happen. Excuses are made, or it's just done behind closed. It's just funny. I would expect everybody to be held to the same standard. They're all players on the same team, all trying to accomplish the same thing. And, just for simply saying that, had a crap ton of people agreeing with me, but then you had your crowd of Boone shills who told me that I should drop dead and kill myself. So that's the state of Yankees Twitter, in case you were wondering. And the state of the Yankee community whenever the Yankees are bad. This is the kind of thing that happens. You express your opinion and you get your throat ripped out for it. You would think that these guys are Boone's kids or something, telling other people to drop dead or kill themselves for expressing a sports opinion about how putrid somebody is as a manager. It's amazing to me. I've never spoken to somebody like that in my life over sports or anything else directly. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, if somebody else has an opinion on Twitter or somebody else has an opinion in real life, I might disagree with it and I'm glad to debate the person on it, but I've never to their face, or even on the internet, especially the internet, which gives people all these tough muscles and courage all of a sudden, never told somebody to drop dead or kill themselves. Unfreaking believable the misery that's out there right now. And clearly how foolish people act, especially over sports discussions. People really need to get a grip, man. They really need to get a grip on the truth and how they act as people, whether it be in person, on the internet, whatever. But that's just not okay to do. Telling somebody else to drop dead or kill themselves, especially over a sports opinion. And these are people that mean it. You could tell by the way they talk. It's not done comedically or anything or anything like that. If it's done completely comedically and that's how you talk to somebody who's like your bro or something, and you know that they don't mean anything by it, absolutely. But you have to have that special bond and relationship. But if you don't have that, and you really mean that, or you even remotely mean it, you can't say that, man. It's not cool to say that to people. But games like this, you could tell that Yankee fans, my point about all that roundabout storytelling is, the Yankee fans, even through all the unacceptable or acceptable behavior, no matter what it is, they felt the humiliation and the embarrassment. A lot of people, including myself, were bent out of shape. 12-1. And you got Judge in his interviews smirking. I love Aaron Judge. We all know this. I love him. But my God, am I sick of the freaking AI and programmed answers like with Boone and everybody else in the clubhouse who does this when they've just been embarrassed beyond words. And I understand the mindsets. You got to move on, turn the page, move on to the next day and put it behind you. I get it. But it's not, when did anybody ever declare it illegal to show even a little bit of emotion? Or maybe not. Just don't smirk after you've just been embarrassed. I mean, I don't know. Maybe just that. Because when that happens, that pisses me off as a fan. That really does. I look at someone like Giancarlo Stanton, who I love, and I have defended, even when it was near impossible to defend him. I still just couldn't find it in me to be awful towards him, or like some people managed to be. He looks visibly pissed. You could tell he gives a crap. I'm sure Judge gives a crap. But as the captain sometimes, I mean, you gotta, especially after an embarrassment like this, I don't even want to see a remote smirk on your face, dude. I just don't. It's not something I'm particularly interested in seeing. after they just got their asses handed to them. Just things like that, it bothers me. It really bothers me. And it's not good for the captain to put out those kind of feels. It's not. So, horrible, horrible place the Yankees were in at this point. Just falling deeper behind the Red Sox at this point, too. Just hoping to salvage a friggin' game. Fortunately, on Sunday, they did. That was when I was there. And that was a lot of fun. Jazz homered twice. Trent homered twice, which is a real gift for me and my brother, who love him to death. We love Trent Grisham, and we have been having a blast with how he's been doing lately, let me tell you, in case you haven't already imagined for yourself, if you didn't remember, but especially my brother, even more so than me, far more. He was the one who started that with Trent. I won't even take credit for that. But Jazz also homered twice, which was very nice to see, because at the game I was kind of confused. They were showing that he was crying in the dugout. He looked extra emotional. Turns out someone very close to him had passed away just within the last day or two before that. So he was very emotional. And so I was very happy for him. His friend, I kept on saying it to my stepmom, to my dad, and my brother, and everybody else on social media who was following along with me when I was talking about it. I was saying it's very obvious his friend is with him. It's really special stuff. Had himself a hell of a night. Trent had himself a hell of a night. Caballero had a sac fly. Just a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. And Rodon had himself a very nice outing. Started to slip at the end there. Allowed 5 walks. I mean, that was mainly at the very end he was allowing those. But other than that, the prior innings before that did pretty nicely. 5 2/3, 2 runs, 1 hit only. Can't complain. So the Yankees got back on the horse after that, and they've won every game this past week up until today when they lost at the very end. When Tim Hill was on the mound, unfortunately, my boy gave it up. There was some question as to why Boone didn't just walk Sosa to get the lefty out with Hill on the mound, because that's Hill's specialty. But then, there's the mindset of not putting the winning run on base, which I guess I understand to a degree. But, I don't know. I definitely trust Hill against lefties more than righties. That's just me personally. If I were the manager there, I would have done the intentional walk. But what do I know? I'm not the manager. So, that's that. The home run to Sosa was given up, and that's that. So they lost 3-2. They didn't come back. But they won 3 out of 4 against Chicago this weekend. They faced the Nationals Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then they played Chicago, the White Sox, in Chicago, and had themselves a very nice weekend up until today. Yesterday got a little dicey, too. They just managed to eke out the win yesterday, thank God, because I would not have liked a split in Chicago. At least they won 3 out of 4. It's whatever. Got the day off tomorrow, and then the real test begins. That's what I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But it's been very up and down with the Yankees since we last spoke, guys. A lot of bad, and it was basically almost all bad up until this past week when they got a couple of whipping teams, like I said before, in the Nationals and the White Sox. And that's good. Sometimes that's a good thing to have in your schedule. It restores confidence, sets you right again. And I hope it did, because the next couple of weeks is going to define this team, who they are, and where they go or don't go. It's going to define that. And I say that because the next 2 weeks, here are the teams they face, all back to back to back to back. They have the Astros in Houston this Tuesday through Thursday. They return home next weekend after that wraps up their road trip to face the Toronto Blue Jays Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They have off again next Monday. Then they welcome the Tigers to town Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then they hit the road once more Friday, Saturday, Sunday to face the Red Sox for the last time in the 2025 season at Fenway Park. That's the next 2 weeks, facing quite literally every single opponent that matters in the American League, with the standings as close as they are. It's literally every team that matters. The Blue Jays, the team that's ahead of them in the division right now. The Astros, who they could very well run into the playoffs again, who have owned them in the playoffs for years now. They could run into them again. And it's always an unfavorable matchup, especially mentally, when the Yankees run into them. They've always been a huge rival of theirs in the playoffs for almost 10 years now, if you can believe it's been that long already. It's crazy. Playoff rivals for that long. And rivals in general, but especially in the playoffs, and the Astros have had our ass. That's the point. And they won 2 out of 3 at the stadium a couple of weeks ago, so how are you going to respond to that in their ballpark? They could very well be a playoff opponent. Take it seriously. The Tigers, same thing. They could very well be a playoff opponent. Got to prove you could beat them. How do you match up against them? And then the Red Sox. We are still very close to them in the standings and the wild card. We have only a half a game dividing us. We're a game ahead of them in the loss column, same amount of wins. And you want to speak of having asses. They have owned the Yankees this year. Owned them. Out of all the matchups, the Yankees have won 2 little times against them. That's it. The Yankees are very fortunate to be even a half a game ahead of them, if I'm being really honest, given how they've performed against the Red Sox head-to-head. The fact that they are a half a game ahead even is remarkable, truthfully. You have one more shot to prove that you can beat them and that you deserve to finish ahead of them in the standings. Do it. So those are all the teams that matter. Literally 2 first-place teams in the American League, in the other divisions, in the Central and the West. The one team ahead of you right now in the East that took first place from you months ago after you dominated first for months by over 7 games. And then your arch nemesis immediately behind you, only by half a game. Every team that matters, you are seeing them over the span of the next 2 weeks. That is why the episode title and the main idea of this episode is what it is. Let's see what you're made of. Because despite all the negativity or the positivity from the last bunch of weeks, and if we spoke last Sunday before that game last week set them right, the last game against the Red Sox, it would be a very different episode. Trust me, it'd be awful. Just like every Yankee fan, it would have been the same for them because that's where they were. This past week, even though you expected them to beat these teams, brightened things up a little bit, hopefully restored the team's confidence. That's the hope. That's the goal. But despite everything, negative and positive, the last bunch of weeks, these next 2 weeks, that's what matters. Now it's done. What's happened, I hate to sound like Boone and the Yankees here, what's happened has happened. This is the last day of the month. We wake up tomorrow. It's the final month, if you could believe it, of the 2025 regular season. We have less than 30 games to go. And in that time span, almost half of them coming up in the immediate future, in just a couple of days, are against the teams that matter the most. These next 2, we will see what you're made of, Yankees. We'll see. That'll be the ultimate determining factor. If they finish somewhere in the middle of the road, maybe taking a couple of series, losing a couple of series, depending on the game and the series, the opponent, whatever. And maybe things will be okay, especially because the Yankees' schedule mostly very much eases up straight through to the end after they finish with the Red Sox at Fenway for that final last week and a half or 2 stretch there. If they do very well, it could be an entirely new division, wild card picture, playoff position, you name it. It could be entirely different for the better. Or they can lay a fat egg in all of the series and knock themselves out completely and be lucky to even get a 3rd wild card. It's entirely up to them. Their fate is in their hands. They're getting every opponent that matters head to head to prove themselves or bury themselves. It's your move, Yanks. See what you're made of. That's the idea. After they're done with the Red Sox, they have the Twins again in Minnesota. Then they have the O's. They should handle, but the O's they've been scrappy in some games, depending. But they should have them. Then the White Sox again, who they should also have. And then they finish off against the O's at Yankee Stadium. Last game of the year is Sunday, September 28th, which is exactly 4 Sundays from now. That's the rest of the schedule, guys. We are that close to the end. It's insane to think about, but we are that close. I look up and down the team. I look at the offense. Grish having a career year. I know there's a lot of contract talks about what they should do with him after this year is done, and that's understandable because it's a tough decision. You don't want to block any promising prospects like Spencer Jones. You definitely don't want to do that. And this could be beyond an outlier season for Trent. It already is as of now. You don't know what it is going forward for the rest of his career, but as of right now, I mean, he had never even hit 20 home runs in a season before. 20. And now he's about to close in on 30. And tomorrow's only the 1st of September. Got a whole month. He could very well hit 35 home runs. Never even hit 20 in a season before this. 20. Now he might hit 35. His OPS is killing it. 833. About to close in on 60 RBIs. Doesn't have more because he spent so much of the year leading off. That doesn't give you as many RBI opportunities. But this guy's been killing it, man. Killing it. His on-base percentage for the year is over 350. Slugging's just south of 500. Trent's having a hell of a year, man. You can't say otherwise. Do you bring him back? It's a tough call. I definitely want to see what Spencer Jones is made of, but I mean, Trent is a very serviceable player. I mean, he's putting up these numbers as someone who is anticipated to be a 4th outfielder. Keep that in mind. Really impressive. And I think he fits in really well here, and I think he really likes it here. Those are other things to take under consideration. It's tough. These things are tough. Then you have Cody, my boy. I love Cody. I cannot believe the season he's having. Batting around 280 still. 837 OPS after today. He's got 26 home runs himself. 83 runs batted in. He's definitely going to finish with over 90. Probably even closing on 100. Hell of a season he's having. I'd be shocked if he doesn't opt out. This is someone who, and I know people are concerned about the age. He's 30 already. I want this guy to stay on the team for the rest of his career, man. I don't know if he'd be willing to accept a 4-year, maybe 5-year contract and just take it from there little by little up until the end, whenever that may be for him. Only he knows that. But whatever it takes, I would love to keep Cody Bellinger on the Yankees because not only is he having a great season, and I do hear people when they raise concerns about his age or the fact that his seasons have been so sporadic and unpredictable, great one year and just generationally awful another year. He's had that tendency. I hear those concerns, and they are valid. But at the same time, Cody just feels like someone for years now, not even just this year, but I'm just glad this year is proving this, just feels like someone who belongs on the Yankees. He just feels like this is his home. He belongs here. It's like a perfectly fit puzzle piece. I'd love to see him stay. Very valuable left-handed hitter who could play anywhere and have him play very well in any of those positions. He's so valuable. And I think he has a great presence on this team even off the field. So satisfied with what he's done. Speaking of the captain from earlier, how about we talk about Judge? For a while after he returned, and he did return just a couple of days after we last spoke, like we anticipated, he has still been DHing since. He has not begun throwing yet. Well, actually, it's not true. He has begun throwing. He just hasn't appeared in the outfield again yet. But he was bad for a while when he first got back. Pretty bad. But in the last few days, we have started to see that turn, and that is very welcoming. Very happy about that. Because not that I gave up on him. I don't give up on Judge production-wise. I mean, it's a foolish thing to do. He's always going to figure it out. But it was getting bad for a while, and he was not immune to scrutiny. I mean, it was really bad. And I was talking about it too. It's sad. I mean, who knows if he's even fully healthy or what the deal is. It's just taking him extra long to readjust after his missing some time. But he was still looking absolutely awful at the plate. He was striking out more. Less competitive at bats overall. But the last couple of days, especially in Chicago, it's turned around. I mean, he's got 3 home runs in the last 7 games. A couple of those just in the last couple of days, today and yesterday. Now at 43 home runs. It's a shame. He'd definitely be far closer to 50 if he didn't miss that time. 97 RBI, so he's about to hit 100. OPS still decently over 1,100. Batting average at 324. It shows you how much he actually, 324 average. Definitely a lot of that was credit to his earlier part of the season, but People want to talk about Judge looking so bad lately. Oh, his average is down to 324 now. That's how you know how great of a player he is. Oh, down to 324 is an awful thing in some people's eyes. I know it's because of recency. I know. I get it. I'm just saying it's just funny. Shows you how great of a generational player Judge is. Now, 358 for his career. Tied Yogi Berra, by the way, for 5th all-time in the Yankees list for home runs. That's pretty incredible. He's got 3 more to tie Joe DiMaggio, which will happen very shortly, definitely before the end of the season, I would say. So that's awesome. He'll have sole possession of 4th place all-time in the Yankees home run list, only trailing Mantle, Gehrig, and Ruth after that. It's pretty amazing. But he's been heating up again recently, and I love to see that. Hope to get him back out in the field soon, although Stanton's done pretty nicely out there. And I guess that segues me into him as well. He's done nicely out there. He's done nicely at the plate. He's done nicely, period. That's my point. He's been amazing. Stanton is performing like it's already October, even though it's not. Just unbelievable what he has accomplished. And in a short time, too, guys. People forget. He's only had 173 at-bats as of close of game today. 173. And he was already at 16 or 17 home runs, and he was just hovering around 150-ish RBIs. That's an insane pace. And people forget that Stanton's also 35 now. Especially for his age, that's unbelievable. He missed a big chunk of the season, yeah. But by the end, he could actually have pretty decent numbers, and at the level of most players who have played the whole season. And he might have only played about, give or take, half. That's just amazing. And I am kind of surprised at how smooth he's looked in the outfield. His arm is still great, but I'm also entirely not, because one thing is that the Yankees have truly made people forget, and I've noticed this a lot. People giving Stanton a lot of credit for how good he's looked mainly in the outfield. People are quick to forget, and I know it was a lot of years ago. It's maybe like 8 years ago already. Stanton's been here a while already. But the Yankees have made people forget that once upon a time, Giancarlo Stanton was a very good outfielder in Miami. He was great. He had decent range, a cannon of an arm. He was good. And now because the Yankees decided when he came here that he was a DH, especially because they wanted to put him in bubble wrap because of all of his injuries. Look how well that's worked. You know, despite all the DHing, he still gets hurt. That's why it drives me nuts. Like, oh, you have to DH him, otherwise he'll get hurt. Well, he's gotten hurt anyway. Who cares? Look what he can still do in the outfield despite all the time the Yankees took away from him from being out there. Of course somebody's going to get a little rusty out there, maybe have tree stumps for legs at times after so long not being out there. But he still has it in him, clearly, at least a little bit. He hasn't totally forgotten it. And neither should everybody else. That once upon a time, he was a really good outfielder. That just doesn't vanish. So it's good to see that he still has it at least a little bit. Good for Giancarlo, and good for him for killing it at the friggin' plate. He's kicking ass, this guy. So satisfying to be such a big defender of his and still see this happening. It's awesome. So good for Giancarlo. He's been so vital to this team and any bit of success that they've managed to have, even through the dark times the last few weeks. Good on him. Ahmed Rosario played today too, by the way. Wish he'd play more. He's done very well as a Yankee so far, just putting bat to ball and doing the best he can out in the field, even though he's not primarily known for his defense by any means. But he tries out there and he puts bat to ball very nicely. And he's a great guy to have out there if they're facing a lefty especially, but just in general. I mean, it's a good guy to have. So it's good to see him get some reps today, finally. Jazz is pretty much the same thing I've always said about Jazz for some time now. I think he's got his positive attributes about him, but unfortunately, I think he plays like a moron sometimes. I think he does. He does foolish things out in the field. I think he prioritizes the home run a lot more than he should, and he hasn't been bad at it this year in prioritizing the home run. He does have 26 after all, so he does something right. But I feel like there are a lot of situations where he prioritizes doing that rather than just putting the bat on the ball and just returning to the basics, really. Not trying to do too much. I think he's gotten very home run happy, especially with the short porch there, and that's understandable. That could have an effect on lefties, and I understand that to a degree. But just a lot of the times at the plate, I don't feel like his approach is its best. I don't. And then all the silly crap he does out in the field defensively. We've all seen it many times. Just pisses me off. But then other times he'll go out there and do a very nice job and be very important to the offense. And that home run stroke is there. So he's a complicated baseball player is what I'm trying to say, I guess. He's very complicated. And plus, despite his personality being very intriguing and at times a good one, and then that antagonistic personality that he has at times and he goes out there and does nothing makes him look foolish sometimes. So sometimes I'd rather his bat do the talking than his mouth at times. That's a factor of it too. So just little things he does at times that irritate me. He's not always the most pleasurable baseball player to watch. That's my point. But he does have his positive attributes. So I don't dislike Jazz. I don't hate him by any means. Just very frustrating sometimes. Then you have Ben Rice getting in his reps as catcher and first baseman as much as possible. There's still work to be done as catcher, but I believe that's nothing that can't be fixed as long as he's continuing to get more reps. And when he plays first base, there are a couple that I wish that he had scooped, depending on the certain play that you want to bring up throughout the last bunch of weeks since we've spoken. But all in all, he does his thing defensively as best as he could. And his bat, I mean, his good hitting spurts come in bunches as well. But overall, all in all in the season, the average could be a little bit higher. Yeah, whatever. 22 homers, over 50 RBIs, OPS over 800. Could be far worse. I don't hate it. And I think it's only going to get better the more chances he's given in the big leagues, whether it be at first base or catcher. So, he did have a big choke moment in the game today with the bases juiced, but is what it is. You can't come through every time, I guess. Although, really wish he did. Would have been nice today. A sweep would have been sick, and I think that would have really sealed the deal on it. But whatever. It is what it is. Austin Wells. I mean, for the most part, it's just what I've continued to say about him. A chunk of him is very frustrating. He has improved defensively. He's continued to improve, and that's a good sign. I like that. But if he's going to be the main catcher, I need more than just improvement on defense. I need defense to be at least on par, but I need more with the bat, man. I know that I said if it was 20 home runs and like 60, 70 RBIs, that those aspects of his numbers would be positive, and I'm not going back on that. I still agree. But there are just so many moments where, I mean, individually, some of his at-bats are so awful, and so many moments he doesn't come through when you need him. It's just ugly to watch him play sometimes. It's ugly trying to watch him hit. If you watch Yankee games regularly and you watch his at-bats regularly, you know what I mean by that. Again, just another player who does good things every once in a while, but a lot of the time he's also just not very pleasurable to watch play. It's just not. And especially when Ben does what he does with the bat as often as he does, it's frustrating. And you feel like Wells could be better. Again, he puts up stats for a catcher that you're okay with. 20-plus home runs as a catcher? Cool. 60, 70, even more RBIs? Cool. Definitely. But still, plenty of aspects of his game that are frustrating. I need the at-bats to be more competitive, less first-pitch swinging sometimes, because that's gotten into a lot of trouble and much shorter at-bats than he could have had. That could have led to something good, but he cuts it short by swinging at the first pitch and being a bonehead with that sometimes. Just not putting a good swing on certain pitches. That's just the consensus of it, man. Speaking of homers and RBIs being good for a position, but otherwise vast disappointment, why don't we talk about the shortstop that everybody just loves to talk about, Anthony Volpe. Last couple of days before today, saw some positives, went deep, put bat to ball a bit more, had a hit today again. But before that, it was still misery, absolute misery with Volpe. Errors continuing. He's now at 18, closing on 20 real fast, and that's already a career high for him errors-wise. And there's still a bunch of games left to play there, so you just hope you could lock it in with that for the rest of the way out at least. And the rest of his statistics, I mean, because of his hot streak in the first couple of days in Chicago, he's now 6 for his last 23, good for a 261 average. But, I mean, the guy still doesn't really walk. He doesn't have good at-bats a lot of the time. The swings are ugly. He's still 7 for his last 51, if you want to still go longer term back into the past. There was a point where he was like 7 for 60 or 70 something. I mean, it's just awful. Awful numbers. Non-competitive to the nth degree. And he'll hit his homers as he had this weekend. He now finds himself at 19, which again, for a shortstop, is admittedly good. I'm not trying to entirely crap on somebody and not give them any credit where credit's due. I try to be as objective as possible. We know that about me. If you're a longtime follower or listener of mine, you should know that. I'm always like this with my opinions, regardless of how I feel about a player. Again, like with Boone, no problem with him personally. I don't know the guy. How could I have a problem with him personally? But as a player, just the dreadfulness continues. You could still acknowledge that the last couple of days you got into a couple of hot streaks, but I think it's safe to say we know what Volpe is at this point now that year 3 is about to come to a close, and we've seen the cycles and the habits, and we know what happens. He'll be hot for a couple of days, maybe even a few days if you're lucky. But then after that, the long, drawn-out streak will go right back to what it always is. This could change in years in the future, whether he's still here or not. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. All I can tell you is what's happened, and based off what's happened, I have my feelings about what's going to be. 19 home runs, 70 RBIs from a shortstop, you take that. But otherwise, everything else still remains the same. The fielding this year for the first time in his young career, and that was really the main thing that he had to stand on, the main leg he had to stand on, it's left a lot to be desired there. Base running, could be doing it more and better. He got caught stealing too many times this year. Hopefully that continues to get better as the year goes along. And the hitting, I mean, if he's not hitting a home run, I mean, what's the kid doing? Maybe just putting bat to ball and getting a hit every once in a blue moon whenever the planets align. Maybe except for just the last couple of days. I mean, come on, guys. The Yankees need better. The Yankees deserve better. They put a lot of stock into this kid. I don't want to hold it over his head or anything, but I mean, you kind of have to. It's only fair. Not on him personally, but just talk about how much the Yankees need it. They put a lot of stock into him. All the things. You can't help but think every once in a while. Even if you like the kid. Everything they turned away from. Everything they turned down. They looked the other way on. It was because of their belief in him. And they need that to start coming through. I'll give him his credit for the last couple of days. Fine. He deserves it. But I have a feeling of what's going to happen. I said something similar in either the last episode or the one before that when he also went through like a very brief little hot streak there. And then look what's happened. Up until today, up until this weekend, what was it again? 7 for 70, bunch of streaks like that. That's what most of his career at the plate has been. And the only thing that people seem to be able to call back on to defend him is the Grand Slam in the World Series. The same World Series he got absolutely embarrassed in. No fault of Anthony Volpe personally, really, kind of. But, I mean, he did have that throw to third base in Game 5 as part of the clown fifth inning. But that's all people bring up, that Grand Slam home run in the World Series, which is big. Doesn't happen often in the World Series at all. And the Gold Glove in 23, which some people could argue he very well could not even have won that based off of Bobby Witt Jr.'s performance at short. So, you know what? If that's all we're going to mention and we're at the end of year 3, we're going to keep mentioning year 2 and year 1 stuff. Listen, man, I don't mean to minimize or sound too cruel, but I need more than just one ball that he ran into, possibly on accident, and a Gold Glove that you could even probably a little bit debate in his rookie year. And that is not me saying he played bad defense that year. He played really good defense that year. It was fine. It was solid. But even that could be debated, and that's 2 years ago now. And we've actually seen him regress since then in many ways, which is the opposite of what you hope to see by year 3. So what I saw the last couple of days, give credit, but it's not nearly enough, and I still feel the same way that I do about Anthony Volpe, that much of the badness we've seen for about 98% of his career at the plate is what he is at this point. I know it's tough for the Yankees to admit, but that doesn't mean they have to gaslight too. When they say, oh, hot streaks, he's done this, he's done that. We watch the games. You don't need to tell us that he's done good with this or done good with that when he hasn't. They do that with a lot of things. The gaslighting from Boone and the Yankees is very strong. It's a very big part of what makes them so freaking frustrating on a regular basis. But my opinion's unchanged on Volpe. It's unchanged. And I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do in this last month or so, but that's how I feel about the kid. He's still batting .210 with an OPS in the 670s. That's just a disgrace. No matter which way you want to slice it, it's a disgrace. You even look at any of his other stats that you can. His on-base percentage this year is barely two, and if not for his hot streak, it was even lower than this, in the 260s. But right now it's 274. That's a career low. If not for the home runs he'd been hitting, his slugging is miraculously 404 right now. But if not for the home runs he had been hitting, he'd be in an even worse place slugging percentage-wise than he's been throughout his whole career. The only stat right now that he's at a career high with is the RBIs. Nothing else. It's sad. So many points of regression. And I've gotten to the point now where, a couple of weeks ago I was still raging about it. But I've gotten to the point where right now, especially before the last couple of days, I'm not crapping on Volpe anymore. I'm not. I could talk about how much his numbers are a disgrace, but I'm not going to make it an effort to constantly mention it or crap on the kid or say anything really cruel. I'm not doing that. Right now, I blame the Yankees as of this point on. It's their fault for not accepting the truth that this kid doesn't have what it takes, at least as of right now, and not figuring something else out to try to just put an end to this saga. I mentioned a bunch of episodes ago, maybe a AAA stint would not hurt. Other people have said the same. A lot of other people. I don't know why he's above that when nobody else is. We've seen this work for so many other players. They go back down to work on what they got to work on, restore their confidence in their swing or anything else they need restoring of confidence in, and they come back fresh, new, and ready to go. I don't know why Anthony Volpe is above this or why the Yankees refute it as even a remote possibility when things are just brutal. I don't get it. They'll sit somebody after having a great day just because, they got to keep shuffling around. But then when there's a possibility that you could try something new and innovative for your organization that they usually would not otherwise do, that could help a kid that's clearly in over his head and very much in his own head, both at the plate, in the field, regardless, take your pick on the bases, doesn't matter. They sat him for those couple of days. Should have been even longer. Because then he still came back for a few days after that, those couple of days break, and he still looked absolutely awful for like 15 to 20 at-bats. And in the last couple of days, he looked better, but who knows what's going to happen now going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes right back to being awful, but that's on the Yankees at that point. Something could only go on for so long before it's the team's fault for not accepting reality. And that's my adoption on it. To a degree, I feel like they had been setting him up to fail for some time now. Keep throwing him out there to the Wolves, against the opponent, against the fans even. And not doing anything that could help. Who knows what's going on behind closed doors coaching-wise, but you don't see any adjustments in his swing when you're analyzing it. People are analyzing it all the time on MLB Network, even on the Yes Network, everywhere. The flaws are still there and they're not getting fixed. So how much is being worked on and how much are you really trying to help this kid to finally freaking succeed? And that's why I blame the team at that point. I do. I blame the Yankees. So we'll see how he continues to do going forward and how the Yankees continue to handle it or not handle it, I guess you could say. And make our evaluations based off that, I guess. Other guys like Ryan McMahon, man, I tell you, it'd be really something if he could get it going with the bat. He finally hit his first Yankee home run the other day. But if he could get it going with the bat, because my God, can't he hit? He cannot hit. I mean, I very much appreciate the bluntness. I love when players are like this. He's even said how bad he's been at the plate after he hit his home run. He said that, and I appreciate that honesty. I love that. That's what I ask for out of players. I love it. But yeah, if he even hit decently, God, the pickup he would be. Because he plays a beautiful third base. My God, is it beautiful. Just can't hit. He cannot hit. So, if only he could. But just painful watching him hit, but it's great watching him play defense. Puts on a clinic down there in the hot corner. And then other bench guys like Caballero's doing a fine job. I know I'm not the only one saying this, and rightfully so. Far from the only one, but I'd like to see him out at shortstop far more often. Especially over Volpe when certain, time periods are happening, like most of his time at the plate. But they are reluctant to do that. They are reluctant. But Caballero, it's interesting seeing him out there. It's always fun. Great on the bases. Doesn't blow your hair back offensively, but you can tell he's trying to put bat to ball. Plays really solid defense. So that's nice. And you have Paulie Goldschmidt. I mean, he had a little bit of a resurgence again somewhat recently, but he's continued to go back down a bit. And if you look at his numbers from mid to late June and on, unfortunately, just really hasn't been pretty, I have to admit it. As long as he just keeps on putting bat to ball out there as best as he can. We only have a month left of the season, and you do what you got to do with him in the winter. I'd probably let him walk. It's been a pleasure having someone as great of a first baseman as he's always been as a Yankee, even if it's only for a year. But, yeah, it's tough. He's having a rougher time out there. He is. Doesn't really take many walks. The slug is still not there. So, anytime he's on base, he's just putting bat to ball, usually with a single. It's better than nothing. But hope for a little bit more production. It's getting later on into the season now, though I don't know if he's just at the end of his rope, sort of. I'm not really sure, but I hope he can muscle it out here at the end to finish nicely whenever he gets a chance. I would solely leave him in against lefties at this point, though. That's something I would do. And I know that's what they did today, and he was leading off. He went 0 for 5. That was tough for the leadoff spot. Also gave Judge less of an opportunity to drive in more runs with that homer that he had. But listen, it is what it is. He's getting older now. So that's pretty much it with the offense. I mean, listen, they still do what they do. They disappear every once in a blue moon, but for the most part, they do what they can to be resilient and stay competitive and give the team chances to win most of the time. That's the idea. The bullpen has definitely still had their days. Devin Williams, in the last 3 weeks, has certainly had his fair share of drama, blowing games against, or at least almost coming close to blowing games against very important opponents. So there's that. Bednar had blown that outing a couple of weeks ago that I mentioned before, but he's mainly gotten back on the horse as best as he could. Duvall has been just a tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Some others have gotten hurt. Some others just got back from being hurt. Like Fernando Cruz just got back. I thought he was going to be out for longer, but he just got back. Jonathan Loaisiga got hurt again. Another setback with the flexor, and he is just done for the year. So that's probably the end of Johnny Lowe, which is it is actually so tragic, the ending that he has had here. It's so sad. Someone I really, really enjoyed watching for years. And he just lost his stuff this year, didn't have it. And he ends it with yet another injury, which has really been the mainstay and just, I would say, his legacy for years now, which is very sad. This is a guy who had players like Alex Bregman, really great hitting talent, say that he was amongst the toughest pitchers to face in the league. It's how much talent this kid had. But now he's 30, hurt too much, clearly too much to the point where he's losing his stuff, and that's it for him. So the bullpen's seen a lot of shifting in that sense, a lot of roster moves back and forth for them, injuries, people coming back from injuries, and you got the main group in the back with guys like Weaver, who will go out there sometimes and be nails, and sometimes will go out there and be not so great still. And Duvall, Bednar, Williams, Tim Hill, a bunch of guys. And, I wouldn't say they're doing as badly as they were for the last bunch of months, just in the last couple of weeks, but still have their days where they make you want to rip your hair out, definitely. And the starting rotation's doing as good as they can. I mean, Max Fried was a big story because we know for weeks he was really struggling. And his last couple of outings back out there, fortunately, it's very good to see because it's not being talked about enough, especially with how important it is for this to be happening with the Yankees. Last couple of times out, he seems to have really found himself again, which is really good. Because for a while there, it was starting to look real sketch. I mean, if you look at basically all of his outings since, I would say maybe the beginning of July, and it's now September tomorrow, so it spanned for about a month and a half, maybe closer to 2 months. But you even go back to maybe like the end of June, he had that outing, 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, not a bad outing. It was okay. But then July started, and in his July 1st outing at Toronto, 6 innings, 4 runs, not great. 5 innings, 3 runs, all right, but 6 hits, and, that's not great. Then the 3 innings on the 12th in Chicago, when he had to leave early because he had that blister, I believe, on his finger. 4 runs, 3 earned, but only the 3 innings. And then on the 23rd after that, at Toronto, another game against the Blue Jays, 5 and a third, 6 runs, 4 of them earned. Not a great outing. No help from defense in cases like this, too, with the unearned runs, but still. And he went deeper into a game on the 29th, 6 and 2/3, but allowed 4 runs again, 2 earned. But again, and some of these are his fault. He's thrown some balls away at times, so there's that. Then August, I mean, from the beginning towards the middle of the month was just really ugly. 5 innings, 4 runs against Texas. Same thing, almost mirroring the Texas outing against the Astros at Yankee Stadium. 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, all earned, exactly like he had against the Rangers in Texas. And then on August 16th, at St. Louis, the Yankees still managed to win this game miraculously in that high-scoring bout, but 5 innings, 8 hits, and 7 runs. Everyone's like, what the hell is wrong with Max Fried? And for like a month and a half, just really bad numbers, bad outings. Not the same. Well, fortunately, the last couple against Boston, and this is big because of how important it was to win a game against them, but 6 innings, 4 hits, and no runs allowed, so 6 innings shutout. Unfortunately, that was the night the offense pulled a disappearing act, so we got an ND for it. No decision. But that was really the first sign of him turning anything around in nearly 2 whole months of pitching, so that was a good sign. And then the last time out, just a few days ago against Washington, and he is pitching again on Tuesday against the Astros in Houston. That'll be interesting. But against the Nationals, 7 innings, just 4 hits and 1 run. So last couple of outings, he is course corrected, and you hope for the home stretch here that he does that because God only knows, especially with how important these next bunch of games coming up is these next couple of weeks, they need Fried to be Fried. So that is a huge narrative that I don't feel a lot of people are talking about enough. He has the last couple of outings shown his old self again that he was for the first 3-ish months, 3.5 months of the season. And that needs to continue if the Yankees are going to make a run at anything. Then you have Carlos Rodon, who will be sporadic at times. He has his good outings, he has his bad outings, and it usually is predicated around whether or not he's keeping the ball in the park, walking too many people, and how many strikeouts he's getting. So hopefully he continues to stay on the ball with that as well. But Rodon's also obviously extremely important with what the Yankees are looking to do here. Now you look at his season, though, it's really nice, man. 15-7, 3.18 ERA, 177 strikeouts, and 164 in the third innings. It's about as good a season as he's had with the Yankees collectively. I mean, last year I know he had the season where in about a month and a half or so he had some of the worst pitching I've ever seen from a pitcher. And otherwise, throughout the remainder of the season, outside of that month and a half or so window, he was fantastic. But that did damage his overall numbers. But this year, those overall numbers are as good as we've seen them in his time as a Yankee. And I hope that continues because, again, he's too important. If they want to achieve what they want, he's going to have to keep going on this pace and continue to find consistency. Speaking of consistency, well, Will Warren. I mean, he's got to get back on the horse here. He had that little bit of time, few weeks, a few starts, where he was looking really good. It looked like he unlocked something and just found that potential that we had all been dreaming of. But then again, the last couple of times out, he has slipped again. He has slipped. I know none of his runs were earned in his last time out, but the fact of the matter is he still got himself into a very nice bit of trouble and couldn't fight his way out of it. So I still consider that, you know. Defense hasn't helped him at times either, but hope he gets back on the horse again a bit after his last couple of outings. Because the ones before that, for a while, for weeks, except for the July 19th start in Atlanta, I mean, other than that start, going back to from July 8th, he's looked very good. Very good. So I hope he just gets back on that sort of consistent wavelength there, because he could be a very important part of this rotation if he locks in. Then Luis Gil, I mean, it's just a matter of him finding more consistency. He gets himself into an awful lot of trouble in some innings. He's always had the tendency to do that. He gets a little wild at times. But he hasn't done an awful job, but he hasn't been like crazy sharp either. So just a matter of finding consistency with him as well. Didn't have a bad outing today. 5 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs only, and 2 walks and 7 strikeouts in that time. So you know what? I'll take that outing from him. It's not bad. The offense didn't do as much really today. So on a day where they score more runs, then that could be considered to be a better outing and he could even get a win for it. But not today. So hopefully the rotation can just continue to find its stability. I mean, they've been dealt their share of blows, especially not having Cole, but it's just a matter of consistency. They're a bit inconsistent at times. You know, Fried lost himself for a while, and Warren is last couple of times out after a while of really solid outings, just slipped again. And Rodon has those outings where he gives up more home runs than he would like to and just gets a little inconsistent. But for the most part, the starting rotation has been pretty good. For the most part. They've had a lot of challenges, dealt a lot of blows, but I think they've fought through it as well as they could. The bullpen's just got to continue to find its way. God, on paper, they should be so much better. They really should be. I just hope they get to any sort of a place where we don't have to be sitting on the edge of our seats every time the starting pitcher, whoever it may be on a given day, hands things off to them. Because living in a time like that sounds quite lovely, if I'm being honest. And whether it's due to crappy performance or injuries, they've just seen a lot of action as well themselves as far as roster moves and just constant transactions. It feels like almost daily. It's crazy. But more or less right now, just on how the roster looks, figure we just hammer this out right now. Because I just like to, after a bunch of weeks away, rather than going through each and every transaction in mind-numbing fashion and putting you to sleep, might as well just really just hammer how the roster is looking right now and where they're at this moment. But also keep in mind that tomorrow is September 1st, and that's when rosters expand. A couple of more spots becoming available. So we'll see what the Yankees do with said spots. I mean, they say that they might just, you know, re-add certain guys like Ryan Yarbrough and just do little things that are really of no consequence as far as major things that we'd expect, you know, when you're comparing it to things like calling up Spencer Jones and having him make his major league debut before the season ends. Nothing in the likes of that, at least as of what we've heard. Brian Hoke hasn't said anything like that would be happening, and he's a reliable source. He said that it would more so be moves like Ryan Yarbrough coming back and things like that. But right now, at least before the rosters do expand, right now on the roster, as far as pitching, you got Bednar, you got Cruz, Duvall, Fried, Hill, it's got me tied up, Hill and Hill, Mark Leiter Jr., Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler, who I also forgot to mention before. My God, how freaking great he continues to look. He is sick. Even after his first outing, when I said there's, you know, some stuff that you expect to see continue to tighten up as he keeps developing, you've seen some of that already, man. He is just, the curveball's filth, the fastball, he's got Cy Young potential. He does. I said something pretty similar to that very early on, like right after his first outing, but it's just getting more and more likely the more we see him, and as he develops, it's only going to get better. I hope he keeps seeing this kid pitch this way and just keep seeing him more and more right through to the end of the year and into next year. He deserves a spot. Hell of an arm, really. So you got Rodon, him, Will Warren, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, and Paul Blackburn, who was signed on to the team, added to the Major League roster a few weeks ago in between my little hiatus here between August 3rd and now. Nothing special. They got him from the Mets after the Mets just got rid of him. And we can see why they got rid of him. But he's just there, just in case they need long relief or, just God forbid anything happens with the rotation, I guess. That's his purpose, but nothing special there. But those are their pitchers. You got Wells as the catcher, and then I guess Rice is sort of his catcher on the side / first baseman. You got Caballero, Jazz, Goldie, McMahon, Ahmed Rosario, Volpe, and then the outfielders, you got Bellinger, Jason, Trent, Judge, and Stanton at DH. Whenever he's not playing the outfield while Judge is DHing at least. So that's how the roster looks right now after all the transactions that may have happened the last bunch of weeks. And as far as injuries are concerned, we are heading into the last month, so it is good to understand who's still hurt, who might still be coming back, what's the deal with certain guys. And I guess since I mentioned his name before, particularly with rosters expanding, I guess I should start with Ryan Yarbrough, since he is expected to return tomorrow when rosters expand. So that's basically the latest with him. He's been working back from his right oblique strain. He had taken a little bit longer than a lot of people expected, but he is expected to return tomorrow. So we'll see what he can add to the team if they throw him back in the bullpen for long relief or if they will put him back in the rotation. But, ever since Heel came back and the arrival of Cam Schlittler has happened, unless they want to do a six-man rotation, I'm not exactly sure where he would fit into the rotation at this point. But we'll see what happens. There is a roster spot for him at least, since it is expanding. That's the main point. Then you have Austin Slater, and they're saying that since he began his rehab assignment a couple of days ago on the 29th, and he played again today, they're saying he's likely going to be back on the roster amidst the September expansion alongside Yarbrough. So, again, it's little moves like this that we're probably seeing the Yankees make. I would love to see Spencer get a look. He's been the best hitter on the planet in the minor leagues. I don't know. I guess they just don't want to do it. Whatever. Then you have Brent Hedrick, another bullpen arm. He had his left forearm contusion back in the middle of August. And he underwent his x-rays and CAT scan after he was hit with that line drive in the middle of the month. And he's been tossing bullpens, so he's expected to just come back at some point in September, but we'll see. Arms like him expected to return. I mean, who knows? We'll see Yuri De Los Santos again. Most recently, he was optioned back down to AAA. So arms like him, Hedrick, who've been around for a chunk of the season. I mean, we'll see what happens. Jonathan Loaisiga, as I mentioned before, that flexor strain that it had returned. He got the flexor strain during a minor league rehab assignment on the 17th. So he was already working his way back and then had the setback, like I said. So this injury is season-ending, so he is absolutely cooked. We have likely seen the last of Loaisiga in a Yankee uniform. I'd be surprised if otherwise. And then really the rest of the guys are people who are out for the rest of the year already and into next year, as we know, my friends. Cole, Schmidt, Cabrera, Jake Cousins, Chase Hampton, the whole usual set of names. So not too much news on the injury front, but other than that and certain other guys who were working their way back or other guys who were optioned like De Los Santos, that's where the roster is right now, and that's where injuries are. And you know what? In the interest of keeping the ball rolling, not dragging things out, and I already recapped so much of what happened these last few weeks, even a little bit this past week. I'm not going to do the whole Yapping Yankees time machine and do a traditional recap segment. I'm just going to really just talk about, again, this past week, what has happened and what it means in the scope of what's to come in the next couple of weeks and the importance of it before wrapping up here for episode 261. Just sort of a kick back and chat sort of episode, laid back, relaxed, and casual, not the traditional episode, no social media segment either. We'll get back to that. I expect to be back with you again next week, so I will be back to weekly as much as I can between studying and anything else I have to do throughout the month of September. And September is a very busy month for me, so do the best I can, but I do expect to be back next week. But this past week, again, I want to reiterate, the Yankees had themselves a very nice week. They got a couple of teams that they were put on a tee for them. The Nationals, they played very well against them. Started right away on Monday when the offense just went on an all-out barrage. Cody sack fly, Ben Rice home run, Aaron Judge, RBI ground rule double, Cody, 2-run single, Jazz 2-run homer, Jason 3-run homer for 10 runs. And the only reason the Nationals got so close as to having 5 runs was because Mark Leiter Jr. had to come in after De Los Santos made a little bit of a mess of things and had to capitalize on that by giving up a grand slam. Otherwise, a very nice game for the Yankees to start against them, to capitalize on their win against Boston, to salvage whatever they could from that friggin' mess of a series. Then on Tuesday, had a nice shutdown day from Luis Gil, which was very nice to see. 5 innings of 1-run ball. More walks than you'd like to see. Still a little bit of sporadic and erratic pitching, rather. But still got the job done, and the offense did what they do. Giancarlo 3-run double, and then a 2-run homer by him. So it was basically 5-1 Stanton over the Nationals. Nice victory for Stanton there. And then on Wednesday, they scored big again, putting up an 11 spot, 9 of which took place in the 3rd inning. But it got started after a leadoff homer by Trent for his 26th of the year, Judge with a 2-run shot, Cody with a solo shot right after, and then Jason with a ground rule double, followed by McMahon's first Yankee home run to make it 8-0. Rice solo shot made it 9-0. Jason RBI single made it 10-0. All of that in the bottom of the 3rd inning. That is insane. And then the cherry on top of the cake in the bottom of the 4th, Austin Wells solo shot, and the Yankees go on to win 11-2. Then they won big 10-4 on Thursday when they headed over to Chicago to face the White Sox. Will Warren, although he didn't look too great in this outing, no earned runs, but a Volpe error and just sloppy fielding, just an ugly inning. Warren couldn't find himself out of trouble, so it was partially his fault. But that 4-run second inning was an ugly one, the one blemish on his evening. But regardless of any of that, any pitching blunders, the offense again just Bellinger 2-run shot, Jazz solo shot is 26th and most recent, Ben Rice RBI single. Then when the White Sox had come back on the grand slam in that bottom of the 2nd off Warren, Judge put them back ahead, RBI single, Jazz sac fly, Volpe sac fly, Trent 2-run shot. He's such a legend. Paul Goldschmidt sac fly, 10 runs on the night there. Then on Friday, another 10. So they had scored 31 runs in 3 games, averaging a little over 10 runs a game in a 3-game span. Wild. So Friday, again, similarly, a lot of crap going on. And pitching was even better. Rodon had gone 6 innings of 1-run ball, 7 hits. A bit decent amount of hits, but still nonetheless a fine outing. And the offense just took care of business. First run scored on a double play by Ben Rice, driving home Trent, who would then go on to hit a grand freaking slam in the top of the 4th for his 28th home run of the year.
Oh my God!
If you're into anime and have not watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventures yet, I strongly encourage you to do so. But that made it 5-0 after that grand slam. Humongous. Then Volpe got an RBI single and Wells an RBI single. That's when you know when those 2 guys are hitting, you're having yourself a good night. Rice RBI single, Volpe 2-run shot when they're up 8-1. 10-2 the final there. Yesterday, like I said, barely eked out a win, but still, a win is a win nonetheless. Started off good in the top of the 4th, did the scoring with Judge's 42nd home run of the year. Good to see that, homering yesterday and today, along with the hits he had in the days prior, so he's waking back up a bit. But the Yankees just traded shots with the White Sox for a while. After that, White Sox tied it at 1. Wells' 19th home run put them ahead 2-1, but then the White Sox tied it again at 2. But then no scoring happened for a while after that until extra innings hit. They would go to the 11th, and the Yankees finally took control at that point. RBI single for Cody, RBI double for Jazz, and the same for Volpe, RBI double. And then coming in the bottom of the 11th to nerve-wrackingly close it out because you had Camilo Duvall coming in. Obviously, Devin Williams was the one to allow the game to be tied earlier on. No shocker there, but Bednar and Weaver both pitched very nicely, especially Bednar before that. But then it was up to Duvall to keep them off the scoreboard for the bottom of the 11th, at least not to the point where they would tie the game. And he was able to do that, did allow the ghost runner to score, but nothing beyond that. Yankees won 5-3 in extras. Also, finally, might I mention, winning an extra inning game on the road, which is something that the 2025 Yankees prior to last night had basically rendered impossible. So bad in extra innings, especially on the road this year, but they managed to squeeze this one out, and Bednar would be credited for the win on it, with Duvall getting the save. And then today, unfortunately, they were on a 7-game win streak. It is what it is, and they won 3 out of 4, so not too upset, but still unfortunate they had to lose. Very similar sort of trend to yesterday's game in the sense that Judge opened up the scoring with a solo shot. It's very interesting. For his 43rd in the top of the first. But then the White Sox retied it at 1. Yankees jumped back out in front on an RBI double by Cody Bellinger, made it 2-1. But then a game-tying solo shot by Colson Montgomery made it 2-2 again. So in that sense, very similar trend to yesterday. I did notice that towards the middle part of the game. It was very interesting. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Sosa would give the White Sox the lead on a solo shot off Tim Hill. And then the Yankees would unfortunately go on to not score in the top of the 9th, so they would drop the last game of the series 3-2. 7-game win streak comes to an end. But because they were able to have a very nice past week against easier teams, hopefully some degree, if not all, of their confidence has been restored because they need it going forward. Again, need I mention next 4 series? Astros, Blue Jays, Tigers, Red Sox. Standings-wise, and also mindset-wise as far as the playoffs when it comes to potential opponents in teams like the Astros and the Tigers, these next 2 weeks mean everything. And if it goes so-so, then the remainder of the schedule, those final 2 weeks against the easier teams, will also have great value, and their ability to beat bad teams will come to the forefront once again and be of the utmost importance. But these next 2 weeks will really be character and team defining because it is against 500 teams that the Yankees have majorly struggled for months now this season, especially these particular opponents with exclamation points next to the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, their divisional opponents. We know the Yankees have had plenty of years where they have struggled against vital divisional opponents. This year has been one of them, at least in regards to the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. So they've got to win these series. I'll be back. I plan on being back with you next Sunday on the 7th to see at least how they make out against the Astros and the Blue Jays. Those will be really important. The Astros, for many reasons that I mentioned earlier on, everybody knows why that's important. And obviously the Blue Jays for the sense of the division, because if I haven't already said it in this episode, the division is actually back within reach. With a month left to play, going into September 1st, the Yankees now find themselves only 3 games back because for a few weeks now, the Blue Jays have somewhat come back down to earth, finally. And the Yankees managed to have themselves a good last week from last Sunday to now, which allowed them to gain some ground over the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, which, especially with the Red Sox, was vital after they got their asses handed to them last weekend at Yankee Stadium. Fortunately, not while I was there. That was the one exception. But nonetheless, next 2 weeks are so important. We will be picking apart every piece of what happens this coming week on next week's episode. I cannot wait for that. But again, this is really the part that's character defining. This is tough because a couple of weeks ago would have been a very different episode, but now after a good week and with the schedule that is imminently arriving in a couple of days, all of that's sort of like done with. These next 2 weeks are it. That's the main topic and the main mindset and the main focus of today's episode. So I hope this served as a pretty decent catch-up for you guys, both with me personally and with the Yankees. Tough to catch up after you've been away for almost a month, but I do plan on doing as many freaking September episodes as I possibly can, I promise. And I do especially hope to be able to do one next week. There's a very good chance I'll be able to. It's looking like I will be able to. So I really want to talk about these next couple of weeks with you. They are the most important part up to this point of the 2025 season, so it would really suck to miss it, but I doubt I will. So, with that being said, a little bit more of an unconventional Yapping Yankees episode 261. That is all for that today, my friends. But a couple of the last usual reminders before I head out today. Remember to follow me on all social medias if you do not already. That is Mike Scudero NY for Facebook. Twitter is at Mike Scudero, and my Instagram is at Mike Scuds97. Subscribe to Yapping Yankees on all 4 of the platforms it is available on as well. That is YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever you may do to show your love for the show and spread the word. Please continue to do so wherever you may be listening, my friends. And if you have the time, if you've missed any of the past Yapping Yankees episodes like I have for very often this year, I've given you a lot of time to catch up on them. So hopefully you don't. But in case you also just want to listen back to any past episodes for nostalgia's sake, that is completely fine as well. Episodes 1 all the way up to episode 261 today, going all the way back to, 6.5 years ago? To when Yapping Yankees first started? That is insane. Every episode that has ever been released on it could be found on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But if you're more driven towards YouTube, like I tend to be sometimes, it's also completely fine. But just know I didn't start uploading on there until episode 34. So episodes 34 up to 261 are available on there for your listening pleasure. But once again, I thank you 3,000 for listening to me yap today. As always, my good friends, I have been your host, Mike Scudero, and we shall yap again next Sunday, God willing, September 7th, as we enter the final month of the regular season once again here on Yapping Yankees, when I come at you with episode 262. But until then, my friends, the usuals, hang in there, be patient, please stay safe, look out for your loved ones, go ahead and kick life's ass this week, like I always tell you to do, my friends. And thank you so much for your continued patience with me. I don't really know how else I could say it beyond what I've already said. But the Yapping Yankees episodes this season have definitely been all over the place, more so than ever, I know. But the fact that so many of you have continued to ride with me, it just means the world. So let's just get through this last month, hopefully as much of the postseason as possible, regardless of our personal feelings of what chances the Yankees could have there. But we'll see. Only time will tell. But I really thank you guys for sticking with me through the beyond inconsistent episodes this season. I will do my best to have a strong September. That's all I could say. And hopefully, the Yankees will commit to doing the same, especially with the importance of these next 2 weeks. So I look forward to talking with you again next Sunday and yapping about the first of those extremely important 2 weeks of gameplay to come. Until we yap again then, my friends, take care. And let's go, Yanks.